blue violets, white perky daisies, multicolored azaleas and the orange of bees, variegated greens of leaves in the undergrowth. Scent. Who knew the iris had scent so sweet, or the power of the azalea, and of course the wisteria's romance, arching over the fresh-cut grass. And voice. The whoosh of traffic, the chirrup of birds, the buzz of the insects and the crunch of gravel and leaves, all held by the warmth of sunlight, the stirring of the breeze, and the laughter of kindness walking by. The next one's really different. It was written after one of the shootings, four police officers down in Lacey, so that was down in Lakewood quite a while ago. And I wrote it from the perspective of the getaway car driver's sister. I hate this orange jumpsuit. Everything it stands for and all it keeps me from. They shout in silence. Besides, it makes me look fat. I should have known my brother was up to no good. When had he ever been up to anything good, except maybe with my little girl Cindy when she was real small? So I let him in when he asked, "Can I crash here a while?" I didn't ask questions. Just took his jacket and threw it on the bed. I didn't know what to think. 4 policemen had been killed while on their break, having coffees, lattes, macchiatos, when the shots rang out. But I didn't know that yet, only that Chico was knocking on my door, at home where I was with nap time stories and chicken soup. Both Cindy and I got a free day, as we do whenever I'm too sick to work. So we were off thanks to the flu. How could I know what had gone on? Or that the flu was the least of my problems? No, don't even think. What did I know? That my youngest brother was standing at the door, then walking inside, and I was saying, "Oh well, all right, but only for one night." And now I've been taken off to jail. It seems Chico drove the car for them all to get away. Now it's not just the 4 of my brothers who've been in the pen. Now it's not just the 4 of my brothers. It's the good sister too, newly wounded in an awful way that only an orange jumpsuit hurts. Oh, stop feeling. Don't even think. My Cindy's in a foster home, not quite 4 years old yet, still sucking her thumb at nap time. No, don't even think. Does she have Curious George and her Barbie? What do they say to her, these people with whom she lives? Don't think. My sins are now passed on to her. The sin of not thinking past my feelings. Be loyal. Help out. Be good. Say yes. No thought there. And now here I am in Orange. Now jail will enfold her world and set a new frame. No one's around to bring her to visit. Will she even remember? No, don't think. I'm the one who stayed outside the jailhouse walls. I'm the one who worked and scraped to raise my girl to be the one to make her proud and to show her another better way through life. Now look what I did. Said yes to Chico, her uncle, my history. No, don't think. So now there's a pressure in my head from all the tears that are pushing to wet this orange outrage. And I only want to go to her bedroom, hold her tight as I say, "No, no. There is no couch for you tonight. Go away." Sorry, it doesn't matter how long ago was that. This one is a poem that I wrote with someone else. It was great fun going back and forth and crafting some of each other's poems, or each other's lines. The storm howls outside. Sheets of rain follow one another without pause, pounding against the walls and drumming on the roof until there is no other sound. All is subsumed within this raging beast, while we lie quietly before the fire, reading stories from Lydia Davis, discussing how a man and a woman might experience the world differently through society's eyes embedded. The dulcet tuned words provide a cadence to our time, until your laughter brings me back to your presence, to your deep pooled eyes and soft skin. I breathe you in and reach for your warmth. Your warmth wraps around me as you dip into my heart and touch something deep. This pulls me apart while making me whole. Woman and man together, deep pools and shallow eddies of emotions and thoughts. Thoughts shared while lying here. Fire raging inside, wind howling without, a beautiful image, better when realized, when I lie here and beside you, maybe someday in my dreams. This one was written while I was out at Hedgebrook. I don't know if anybody knows Hedgebrook, but it's a pretty wonderful writer's retreat. Eagles overhead, soaring and calling us into the spaces in between, to the dappled, piebald, shady places, latticed ideas with power to span what seems to divide. Free, riding the currents, yet searching out carrion with which to fill the bellies of babes still nest safe, tied to earth, and the rotting carcasses left behind. Are remnants of another war what we carry to our own young? When we soar on our accomplishments, securing a town or resting a momentary peace, do we remember the dappled places and bring also the compromise? Leopoldo, how am I doing?
7.5 minutes.
Okay. There are 2 more. Will there be green grass fed by worms' castings, soil nutrients, or astroturf? Who will dig the hole? Will we be truly present or numbed by the loss of you? How will we practice? And if we were to practice, what would that look like? The practice, I mean, and also the goodbyes. Would we notice the miracles while we were living and discuss more in the losing? What is a good death anyway? Later? Smoother? More surrounded by love? Buoyed by the miracle of having loved? Candles sputter and flicker as the conversation blows gently across us. We're speaking of death here. Tell me, what is a good death? Does it include single malt scotch? Ice cream? Peppermint with fudge? Even if it's 2 more years of lingering, isn't it time for those now, with no discussion of nutritional value? Will there be the digging of a grave? Will I wait for a moment in which to say and hear I love you? Will where to scattle the earth that I have become take precedence over memories of laughter shared? Will the final moments be holy for you? For me? For all we've loved together? Can it be done wrong? There's no real practice beyond the letting go that I've known myself to be and have plans to become. And the key seems to be to love and be loved, forgive and be forgiven, to bring and have meaning. So listen to my and your heart. Create, allow space for the echoes of our own truth and touch. You are slow to come to me. Always there is the waiting. How long will I remain here and how long defer satisfaction? Your arrival is heralded by sharp sensations, heat that almost burns my skin, song that only you can sing, and the scent, aroma from the past. Nostrils bring memories and promise, even when I cannot see in the dark. Then, after interminable waiting, eager and ready when I am poised, lips open, senses tingling, only then do you arrive and enter me, warm and full-bodied, my morning coffee. Thank you.
So wonderful to be here again, to be doing this again. You know, so many of the poems in my first book, I Can Still Smile Like Errol Flynn, were first tested right here in this room. So this is called Whatever It Takes. Sugar, sugar, she said. She said, sugar, sugar. And he came. He came like Mount St. Helens, ash that covered 7 states, rocks the size off of Idaho. Sugar, sugar. Sure, not high fructose corn syrup. No, the real thing, the real love. And they married on a windy day on a cliff. A sea breeze day on a sunny spot next door to a church, but certainly not in the church. Just a sunny section of hope above a collapsing cliff. Above the sea, sugar, 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 sugar. He bought a car. A diamond ring that shined like the Ritz on a good money day. She touched him like a saint, holding Aaron's golden rod. Her hands in his jeans, red nails, and a blue chip diamond ring. She said, sugar, sugar, honey, babe, I love you. She said, I love you. Sugar, sugar, honey, babe. And he bought a car. He bought insurance for the car, for the Cadillac car, for the diamond ring, and for the house. The Cadillac car in his life, his very life. For the long black Cadillac car, the house by the sea, the blazing sunset, and for his life. That part of his life that he would never see. His sugar, sugar, sweet life. Sugar, sugar, she called him, sugar, sugar, honey, babe. And you saw this coming. You knew this would happen. He died. Sugar, sugar, honey, babe died of natural causes on an ordinary day. Natural causes for a man his age. Well, she cried. How she cried like poor people processing Walla Wallas in a Pocatello warehouse. She cried. She cried and she said, sugar, sugar, honey, babe, I loved you. I will always love you. And she wore the ring, the downtown diamond ring. She wore it till she died. 40 years later. Yeah, 40 years. She said, I love my sugar. He gave me this diamond ring. And I was just a kid. This is my Tinder application. Routinely I say, whoa, or maybe it's whoa-ho. If you ever hear me, tell me what you think, because I've never been sure whether it comes from riding horses or from imagining the sadness of sex work. Too often my body pumps methane, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and nitrogen into our shared air. But not so obviously as that woman I saw at Target who stretched her fart across 16 feet of aisle intersection. Still, those around me may wince, groan, leave the room, or pretend they don't know me, like, say, a man with unzipped pants, which also happens. Sometimes, in bed after midnight, I flail about, my arms and legs thrash dangerously as I fight off intruders, dragons, or Nazis out to mangle me, or perhaps sell me glossy green Bibles. And you have to understand, my wife owns my heart. She's my partner, playmate, companion, dream catcher, buddy, lover, and best of all, she greets me every day like a hungry puppy at dinner time. She's patient with my sneezes, whooping howler monkey calls audible for 3 jungle miles. Not to mention my belches ripping the air like a sawzall on steel. Or perhaps a choleric cougar's kill scream. So, who's up for lunch? Thank you, Edwin. Honestly, I don't know your name, or where or why I decided to call you Edwin, but it's a good name, and you're a good man. And we're going to go, here's how. You walked with my wife, who was not then my wife, through Stratford-on-Avon, visited shops, the Warwickshire Cemetery, paid homage on a stone bench, news-wrapped fish, chips, in English summer sunshine. You attended classes, dinners, summations, took notes, and shared your heart as she shared hers. And here's the kicker, Edwin. She came home and cried in her kitchen when she told me you treated her with decency, respect. You listened to her. You did not diminish her. And that's how, and that's why. She left another man to marry me 35 years ago. Thank you, Edwin. Where's Jackie now? Capitol Hill Tales. Released from hospital and jail, in which order I'm not so sure, Jackie shoots up. Comes to church for comfort, for deliverance from pain. He wears a delicate black plastic jacket, unzipped to the bare belly, this freezing day. His panicked gray eyes plead like an abandoned victim child. Like a frozen brick, he hits the floor, lies there like the shadow of a man falling from the sky. A true detective sprawl, waiting for the chalk line. The fire department comes. Healthy, strong men trained to save Jackie's life. They lift him from the carpet, hold his head, pull open his lightless eyes. What's your name? The EMT calmly asks. But Jackie only begs, dimless, wordless, for life. I say, he said his name was Jackie. Jackie Schmitt, then, says the firm's stable man, forcing a flashlight beam into Jackie's eyes. Voiceless eyes that shout, I might die right here. But only we can hear, because Jackie's vacant for now. His body limp like wet Bethel laundry. Jackie left church that day, just before lunch. His red and amber lights spinning loud, sirens tisking, whispering, we are the pain heralds, come to test Jack's luck one more time. Our bodies stunned, our shoulders slumped. We heard nothing, said less. Silent shadows watched us straighten chairs, turn out lights. We closed doors, locked them, hungered for hope. And one from, I Can Still Smile Like Errol Flynn, because I just couldn't resist. This is called B.B. King, Eric Clapton, and me. I'll be your Eric Clapton if you'll be my B.B. King. I want a big-ass Cadillac that'll fulfill my fantasy. Sitting in soft black leather, stripped from cattle drawn without barbed wire fencing, super sound on the radio, daring decibels blasting, air conditioning as quiet as the vacant cemetery. The neighbors see and say, Jesus Christ, there he goes in his big-ass Cadillac, son of a bitch. Who the hell he think he is, strutting stuff like some goddamn rock star? And I smiled like howdy doody. I said, like I didn't know any better.
Be bold.
Hi. Let's see. Should I put my wine
Right there.
Okay. I'm left-handed, so but maybe I won't even drink from the wine. I don't know. Let's start my little timer going. I'm so glad to be here. This is one of the best venues. It's really fun to be back. To see so many of y'all. All right. So I decided I would actually bring a section of my verse novel. This section is pretty prosy, but I haven't read it out much, so I thought I'd start with that, and then we'll see if there's time for a couple of just straight old poems. This is a time travel, and in this section, Alice, the main character, the book's called Looking Glass Girl, and it's about a teenage volunteer at the Seattle Art Museum who goes through a painting and ends up in the time of Edward Manet in order to break a family curse. So what you need to know about her at this point is that she's had this boy chasing her that she's identified as Manet's son. She's stolen a charcoal pencil because an old woman gave her a letter that said steal the charcoal pencil first. She's been back in time briefly once before and saw him from behind a curtain. I think that might be enough, I'm not entirely sure. And Willie is a co-worker that she's decided she'll identify as her aunt. So hopefully that's enough. All right. Startled, I blurt the first thing in my head. How did my folded arms press against the corset stays? How did I get here? Léon studies me. You ran. That we are both speaking French only now occurs to me. It feels almost natural, this ancestral chat. How many greats back is he? Great-great? Great-great-great? We're getting stares. A man in a frock coat, a woman peering from under a parasol. Where is this? I murmur. Léon shakes his head slowly. He hands me the hat I don't remember losing. Mademoiselle, he says, is it I who am dreaming, or are you? You think you're a figment of my dream? That's what I mean to say, only I don't know the word for figment. I'm pretty sure what I really say is a thingy from my dream. Léon studies me closely. How did you come to be here, mademoiselle? How did I come to be here? Did he call me to the past? Is the old woman some kind of mystical go-between? Across the street are houses with their dark and light bricks patterned into flowers, a balcony with blossoms, palm trees with hairy trunks. This is the texture of reality. France, I laugh aloud. I am in France. Every cell of me begins to hum. A smile quirks Léon's mouth. This surprises you? It shouldn't. I've been speaking French for half an hour inside a French painting made by a French painter. I'm visiting, I stammer. I got lost. Lost? He chuckles. There's nothing but France for 200 kilometers. If he called me here, he isn't acting like it. And that is, he asks. He adds, unless you're shipwrecked. Something like that, I say. Then, he says, you should go to the chapel of Notre-Dame d'Arcachon and lay your life ring at the altar in thanksgiving. Is he toying with me? I look up at the steeple of the church pointing into an azure sky, feel my feet steady beneath me. Maybe I really was rescued from drowning. Léon's laughter turns to concern. Have you lost your chaperon? Chaperone? He is incredulous. No one is with you? Is someone supposed to be? I remember something about young girls needing chaperones lest they be considered loose. Willie, I say, my aunt, Wilhelmina, she's ill in the hotel. Léon looks at me as if I'm a puzzle he's trying to solve. Did he see me too that day behind the curtain? Where did you come from, mademoiselle? Seattle, I say. America. Was there a Seattle in 1871? An American, he says, as if that explains it all. Your French is very good. I won the French award in middle school. But really, he's flattering me. Even so, now that it's a language and not an exercise, I feel oddly bold. I've been studying it since I was 11. I say, I've always wanted to go to France, but we were, my mind races, 1870s, in a covered wagon. Raced. Now I'm Laura Ingalls Wilder. And then there was the Civil War, and Lincoln freed the slaves. Shut up, Alice. Not that we own slaves. Why won't I stop? My mother was an abolitionist, but the war was very disruptive with all the battles. The frown flickers over Leon's face. My armpits are ruining the dress. Well, no one was fighting in Seattle, but it made it very difficult to go to France. I'll probably crimson to the roots of my hair. I should go, my aunt. He appraises me. You are shaking, mademoiselle. Come to the chalet for some refreshment. I'll ask my sister to play the piano for you. She plays beautifully. 2 horses canter by, pulling a family in an open carriage. The clop-clop of hooves is solid on the bricks. Marisol, the maid, is nowhere to be seen. Who are you, mademoiselle? My hands tighten at my side, and the charcoal pencil jabs my palm. The letter said steal. I've never stolen anything unless you count the last time I went inside a painting, and that time I left it behind. But the old woman's rules are the only ones I have to follow here. The pencil seems alive, like something with teeth. I should give it back to him. Didn't he have it? Or am I wrong about his identity? You're Léon, I tested out. You're Manet's son. He draws back. Monsieur Manet is my brother-in-law. He is married to my sister. I am Monsieur Leonoff. He bows, as if reaching for some kind of normalcy. Wait, his brother-in-law? An awkward moment passes and I bob my head. Alice, that is Mademoiselle Ferrier. Enchanted, mademoiselle, he smiles. I'm sorry, is he my ancestor? I just assumed from the paintings. Of course, he says, though I'm surprised an American has heard of Monsieur Manet. We spent a lot of time at the museum, I said, before the covered wagon. Were there Manets in America then? And I read a lot of art journals in French. Leon's smile becomes more like a grimace. Yes, the journals, charming. Shall we go? He adjusts his handkerchief bandage and winces, then nods in the direction of the house. I slide the charcoal pencil into my sleeve. So, this next one, I just had a birthday, so I've been sort of feeling my age. And I also just found out that my power animal is a bat, which, I don't know. Anyway, this one is called My Life is a Bat. I am no longer young. The body has had her way with me, but her yearnings drive me to emerge, a dark rattle in spring leaves, and I can see in the dark. I am no longer young. The summers spiral down like pearls. I hunt for fruit and blood, for water that skims fast over rocks, for water that drums the eucalyptus leaves. The pang of my pitched reveille echoes off stones and cedars. Once, when the autumn moon rose red as a womb, I coasted the currents, listening for what the earth brings back from her birth, from when she was an asteroid, hot and screaming. Like her, I bore my young live. Now I bear myself, no longer young. When you find me, I will be fierce. You may be afraid. We may both be afraid. Give yourself permission. If you come with me, we will fly blind. We will open in the dusky clouds portals wide as our unfurled wings. We will pass through fire. We are no longer young. We know the winter earth in her unexampled blades and grasses, her ruts and bogs and blossoms. We know her as the young do not. Let the ache take our leathered arms, our straining lungs. Let our striving bodies scale the sky. We will bear the dawn. We will bear the dawn. Very last one, very short. This is one that I thought of during these times when we're so divided, and I'm really wanting to reach across the rift to people who are very, very divergent from me in their political views and see if there's a way to see each other as people again. So this is called Fall. When I began to see my enemy as my other self, the apple tempting my heart of loss split, the knowledge lay heavy in my palms, the twin shame of good and evil.
Hi, I'm Theresa McCormick, and I'm going to read chapter 12 of my forthcoming book called I Was There When. It's a combination of memoir and history. So this is the last chapter, and it's about my impending retirement. And it's called Small Wonders. On the first Sunday of 2004, I attended the service at the Center for Spiritual Living, called CSL, in Seattle with my daughter and family. Instead of asking us to make New Year's resolutions and set goals for the new year that usually get broken within weeks, if not days, the minister asked us to think about living by intention. She suggested that they could guide us through the ups and downs of life without a recurring sense of failure, grimness, and endless struggle. She said, start by meditating on your intentions, letting them come to you from the spirit within. Continuing, she said, don't think up an intention, but let it well up from inside. When an intention presented itself to me, I wrote it on a beautifully designed blessings dragon card that they had given us. Next, she said, what will be the theme of your new year in connection with your life? When that thought arises, write it down. On my New Year's dragon card for 2004, I wrote my intention to experience my retirement as an opportunity for growth, exploration, adventure, good health, prosperity, development, and creativity in my artwork, my writing, and in my life. The two themes in relation to my intention were to experience my retirement as an opportunity for growth, exploration, adventure, and good health, prosperity, development in my art, my writing, and in my life, in connection with other people. And the second theme would be to encounter retirement with clarity, confidence, and courage. Those are the tough ones. So I determined to let the small wonders of life enter my consciousness and guide me on this adventure called retirement. In Barbara Kingsolver's book, Small Wonders, she writes about poetry being all around us, happening in ordinary surroundings to ordinary people. She says, when you feel something so deeply that you're torn between crying and laughing hysterically, that's the time to put pen to paper. That's where poetry comes from. A deep place of pain and conflicting feelings of despair and cynicism. Christina Baldwin, an author, story catcher making sense of our lives through the power and practice of story, is a writing teacher who I studied with in Taos, New Mexico. She writes and teaches about the power of story to change our lives. She says story can lift us beyond the borders of our small selves to imagine other people's reality and to empathize with them. Storytelling is the foundation of our humanness. Tuning my ears to the talk on the street, on the bus, on the radio, over coffee with friends, my intention was to catch the voices and cadences of ordinary people, the highs and lows of their lived lives and experience. So I'll sift all this through my sieve and hope a few grains of gold settle under my pages of creative writing. In the same open and exploratory way, I'll approach my artwork with a new eye for small wonders to appear, letting go of the need to control every line and stroke of the pen or pencil. After attending seminars and reading books about retirement, I had a general plan. I would take up my artwork again, which had been pretty much put on hold during my academic years, and I would study personal writing and memoir. That is the self as story. By taking classes such as the one I took from Christina Baldwin and then Natalie Goldberg also in Taos. And later in Seattle, I took classes at the Hugo House. In my memoir writing, I determined to focus on stories of my experience of growing up in Texas in a fundamentalist Christian family and on my own journey finding my true identity and spiritual path. Well, small wonders do happen. On our way back from CSL service on that first Sunday in 2004, I told my family about the person who first introduced me to the work of Ernest Holmes, whose philosophy is the foundation of CSL. Lowe was a PhD candidate and a teaching assistant at the university when I joined the faculty in 2004. Lowe, a tall, elegant African-American mother of two, separated from her husband, who was still at home in Arkansas, shared with me her inspirational ideas rooted in Holmes' writing. She gave me copies of the CSL magazine, an informative audio tape, and a guidebook that I still have. I benefited from her generosity and the ideas from the Holmes material she shared with me, and I put quite a few of the principles into practice during my life as a faculty member. But as I got busier and busier, I gradually put Holmes' books and ideas, the CSL magazines and tapes, on the back burner of my mind until recently, when I was packing up to move. My retirement fast approaching, I began packing in preparation for my move to Seattle. That's when I rediscovered all those Holmes materials that Lowe had given me. Thinking of her, I said plaintively to myself and to my cat, one of the sad things about retirement is that I might lose touch with the people who were so important to me in my life for so many years. Snapping out of that negative frame of mind, I shifted to a mindset more in keeping with Holmes' philosophy and said to the universe, maybe, just maybe, this reconnection I've had today with CSL here in Seattle will bring Lowe's consciousness back into my life before I move. I didn't know where she had moved to or her current address after her graduation. Well, small wonders do happen. When I got back home in Iowa and picked up my mail at the post office, there, big as anything, was a beautiful holiday greeting card from Lowe wishing me a happy birthday, happy Kwanzaa, and happy New Year. She had moved back to her original home in Arkansas, the place where she taught right after graduation. Thus, we were able to reconnect and catch up on our rich and divergent paths over the past 20 years. I'm still in awe when small wonders happen, and thankful when I'm attuned to their meaning and significance. I carried the small wonder of reconnection with Lowe into my retirement as a reminder to stay connected with people as I navigate retirement with the intention I set that first Sunday of 2004 at CSL. Here we go again. To experience my retirement years as an opportunity for growth, exploration, adventure, good health, prosperity, development, and creativity in my artwork, my writing, my life. All this in connection with other people. After the special first Sunday in 2004, I still had significant preparations and packing to do for the big cross-country move. While doing this, I ran across some advice given to a young Native American at his initiation. As you go the way of life, you will see a great chasm. Jump, it's not as wide as you think. Say goodbye to friends, attending parties, packing up everything to come here. I felt the hesitancy of the young Native American standing at the edge of a precipice, fearful of change. Giving up my hard-earned identity and position as tenured professor, moving, leaving my home. I own an inexpensive home in the Midwest, and renting a house here I can hardly afford in what expensive Seattle. These ideas came to me, this vision came to me. I see a sheer cliff looming ahead. I'm teetering on the edge, balancing boxes of treasures, sorting tossers from keepers, finding a balance between the fear of falling, sorry. I know the minutes are. And the eagerness that welled up in me for a new adventure, a new life, in a new place, with family and with friends. I listened for guidance, for a whisper, for a nudge, and I heard, as you go the way of retirement, you will see a great chasm. Jump. It's not as wide as you think.
Greetings all, my name is Mike Hickey, and this is a brand new piece that I dedicate to Black History Month and my partner Gloria. It's called A Day with Cousin Eddie. It was the fall of 1967, Nashville, Tennessee, and Gloria Anita Brown was nearly inseparable from her older cousin Eddie. But there was one day in particular that would be indelibly etched in her long-term memory for a lifetime. I was a shy little black girl in 4th grade who adored my crazy gay cousin Eddie, Gloria said. He practically raised me. My mother was a concert violinist who traveled all over the country, and my daddy was an army medic in a place called Vietnam. So he was really the main adult in my life, she said. She would have done anything for Eddie. He was the definition of flamboyant and ostentatious. Eddie was his true self and a little bit extra. In fact, a lot extra. He was a black Freddie Mercury before Freddie Mercury. He danced ballet and had the most perfectly lithe black male body Gloria had ever seen. He was tall, over 6 feet, and every muscle seemed to be twisted and tied into every other muscle like steel cables braided together. He also attended Fisk University, where he was majoring in apparently a little bit of everything because he was a 4th-year sophomore. Psst. Hey, skinny girl, y'all up? We got a big day today. He peeked inside Gloria's room on a Saturday morning, just like a million other Saturday mornings. Another opportunity for Gloria to tag along with the fabulous Queen E, or as he liked to be addressed, his royal high ass. Eddie was always teasing me about something, she said. He was so funny, but he also had a serious side. Each day in his royal court, in his royal presence, I was instructed by Eddie to catch a life lesson. Because her 9-year-old brain struggled to keep up with all the rules of the royal court, Gloria was constantly reminded that the first commandment of Queen E was, "Thou shalt kneel." Even if it's just a polite bow with the eyes lowered. This is to be observed at all times, baby girl, should you be in the presence of the Lord, an elder, or Queen E. Eddie talked like this all the time, even in the morning when Gloria was still asleep. She knew the kneeling thing was really about praying to God because Eddie did it all the time and always said that the Lord Almighty was more likely to hear your prayers if you were on your knees. I wondered if that part about the sweet and sunny side was why my grandmom called me honey and sweetie all the time. Eddie and my grandmom would hug and say, "Be kind always." They would say it at the exact same time and then they'd say it one more time. That's one complete sentence, period, stop. Then they would laugh and hug even harder. My grandmom had something called black girl magic, and so did Eddie. She was the only person Eddie ever backed down from. One day, Eddie was explaining his philosophy of how to be happy. The day before, he had dyed his tight afro platinum blonde. He was wearing pink neon short shorts and a sky blue tank top. His muscles rippled all over the map. Most worker bees, he said, stay in some sort of brain-controlled formation. He said this between sips of chamomile tea. No one get out of line. It gets even worse for some worker bees as life keeps moving and moving until one day the worker bees walking behind you start to walk all over you because they want to keep you in line. They want your hive brain to roll with the tide, pressing you deeper and deeper into the quicksand of life. Gloria got dressed in her culottes and pigtails. Then Cousin Eddie ushered her out the door. They went off to meet Eddie's gay frat brothers from Fisk University. Then they were going to lunch, a very special lunch, with a very special surprise guest. For me, Gloria said, Eddie was the queen bee and the rest of the world was his colony. We all loved Queen E. One day, he taught me the top 10 rules on how to be a girl. Number 1, don't be afraid to cry. Number 2, never let anyone see you cry. Number 3, don't let a boy kiss you unless you really like him. Number 4, Wear as much makeup as you damn well please, except at church. Number 5, get involved with politics. Don't let other people make your decisions. 6, always tell the truth, not just when it's convenient. 7, always do what's right, even if no one's watching, because God's watching and He doesn't blink. 8, use your greatest asset, your eyes. They're not just a window to your soul, they're a reflection of your soul. Use them to show your heart, your determination, your I'll never give up. 9, when you see a puppy or a kitty or a baby bird, whisper and be really soft. 10, the weaker sex is actually the stronger sex, and don't let anyone tell you differently. A woman gives birth. There's nothing more powerful than that. Snap to it, my royal subjects, Eddie said, as he and Gloria and all the frat brothers went to lunch in Eddie's van. This was a very special lunch. Earlier in the year, one day after school, Gloria was playing jump rope and hopscotch with her best friend Karen. Karen lived across the street, and Gloria and Karen were allowed to play until the streetlights came on every weeknight. If we didn't come inside, Eddie or Grandmom would be at the screen door and announce to the entire neighborhood, dinner time, get your body in here. One particular night, Karen asked if Gloria could play just a little longer, but she could see Eddie's silhouette standing at the screen door. Sorry, Gloria said, I gotta go eat. Gloria found out the next day at school that a man in a big truck had hit Karen as she was on her way home. He dragged her under his truck for 3 blocks, got out in the middle of the road, dragged her out from under the truck, dumped her on the curb, and sped off. He was never arrested. He was never found. That's when Eddie really started to come around for me, Gloria said. I didn't talk to anyone for 2 whole weeks except Eddie. He knew I was a sensitive girl, and he knew all about sensitive girls. I figured that's why he was taking me to lunch with his friends. We all squeezed into the Crystal lunch counter on 5th Avenue in downtown Nashville. There was a sign in the window that read, whites only, but Eddie and his friends didn't care about that. We just sat there. No one took our order. Every time someone came into the diner, a bell rang. I saw some people in the back, but they weren't waiting on anyone. I could hear the tinkling of dishes and glasses, but there wasn't many people eating. Just a few white people at a counter, and then a few white people who were supporting Eddie's black folks. Then the bell rang suddenly and everybody stopped talking. In complete synchronicity, chairs scooted back. People, black and white, simultaneously rose to their feet. It was the quietest moment Gloria had ever experienced. It was like being in church. In walked 6 black men wearing overcoats, and in the middle of them, as if being protected by the rest of the herd, was a black man in a long white pea coat. His name was Martin Luther King Jr. I'd never heard of him, but Eddie had, and all of his frat brothers politely bowed and lowered their eyes, just as Eddie had instructed them to. It would be several years until Gloria completely understood the impact of that day. I loved and worshipped my cousin Eddie, just like he loved and worshipped Martin. Gloria was on a first-name basis with Dr. King. On April 4th of '68, he was assassinated, and I watched Eddie cry like I've never seen anyone cry before. He watched the TV and wept with a pillow to his face. He kept moaning over and over, no, God, please don't let it be true. Gloria gave Eddie a hug, and he squeezed her so tight she thought she was going to pop like a balloon. In 1986, Cousin Eddie died of AIDS. I felt the same way about his passing. Gloria said that he felt about Martin's. I thought I'd never be the same again. I'd never be whole. And I was right. I was better because of Eddie. He was an activist for black folks, gay folks, and anybody who had ever been forgotten, like me. Gloria now has 3 children of her own and has become an artist, launching a website called the Painted Rock Project, in which she paints rocks to sell and gives to friends. She's a PTSD victim who has found solace in her art. Sometimes when I'm painting, she said, I imagine Eddie and Martin up there in heaven together laughing and singing and praising the Lord. It is easy to imagine both of them, Eddie and Martin, looking down on Miss Gloria and smiling as she feeds her family her famous sweet potato pie on Thanksgiving Day. It is easy to imagine a world in which neither Martin nor Eddie feel anger, fear, or discomfort, just the love of their creator and their favorite little girl from Nashville, Tennessee, Gloria. Thank you.
Hello.
Benjamin Schmitt, and I'm going to read from my latest book, Soundtrack to a Flea Masculinity. I don't have a lot of time up here, so I'm just going to get right into it. All the poems are track numbers, because it's a soundtrack, so that's how I'm going to introduce them. This is track 5 for a couple friends of mine named Keith and Philip. The old man with the Janis Joplin record eyes staggers from the parking lot of his low-income apartment and into the middle of the street to ask, "Have you seen the rainbow?" I stop and enter the street with him, and together we are a couple of undercover survivors. He is grateful for the camaraderie and thanks me abundantly as he points out the faded red, yellow, green, and blue 1970s shirt barely visible on a bodybuilder cloud. No one believes me. No one ever believes me. No one believed me about the rainbow. They just kept walking, he says. This last part fading out like his rainbow as he notices me walking away. I want to stay. He might have good weed. My brief gesture of entrance seems like the sort of act a Christian would boast about on their Facebook page, imagining the 12 disciples reposting it in 1,000 different dimensions, but I'm no good with people. I'd rather leave him with this impression than the hammer falls of my bewildered laughter falling upon his opinion of the deficit. I shouldn't say this. I'm a Christian, or at least a person who has heard the hail drops of sunlight, light patters on rooftops, sky and city, indecisive as gutters catch the faith. What would I die for in such a storm? 2 men blew themselves up today, hugging 30 strangers with fire and glass. We all want to be martyrs. We all hate the martyrs, saying, "Torture me, kill me, just don't let those zealots near my kids." I wish I could invite death, approaching the swinging iron breasts of the Romans to nurse on my own blood, like the early Christians, happy to die, happy to live. I am neither, so I cling to this morose life. The social media martyr dies with every post, only to be reimagined as a cat picture. Bureaucracy itself can be a kind of zealotry, and if you stare too long at the skull in your long Maoist march to death, you may get lost in the swamps of Sichuan. So I clutch Christ's tears with a stranger in the street in that moment before the light is silenced. This is track 31. In one of my first jobs, I used to stare out the long windows of the Osiris Theater at the girls passing by. The windows were so long, my love affairs would begin at the first window and end at the last. The bosses would always call me away from these libidinous silent vigils. Their punishment for these daydreams was to make me change the marquee, a blistering swirl of lights and personalities as I stood with a pole spelling movie names in the street. I stole so many Reese's peanut butter cups from that place, hiding in the dark as silver bullets struck dying fires, bleeding exposure on the screen. But I liked the bosses, an interracial gay couple somehow living in Idaho. My favorite was John, whose father had moved from Chicago and abandoned his family out west. John was kind like an island, breaking a river just to feel surrounded. His husband Richard was some sort of mad projectionist, body stooped from handling too many reels. Nobody liked him because of the way he awkwardly rubbed his hands and licked his lips, as if he were planning to smother us with butter and salt for a movie snack. But oddly, I think he saw all the kids who hated him as his children. Sometimes at the end of the night, they would gather us together and accuse us all of taking money from the register. Later, I found out the bosses had been embezzling money from the theater all along. All the workers stole candy, so I suppose it's funny that all of us were stealing from each other while ushering patrons to their separate fantasies. And just one more. That's a poem that I wrote. I was inspired by this garden that my mom had in this really remote part of Idaho. And it was just a really amazing place, and I just sat in the garden for an afternoon really, and just took notes on it, and that became a poem. I also wanted to read it because I read it here the last time that I was here, which is about 2 years ago, and afterwards someone came up to me and we had a really good conversation. I have a really good memory of this reading series because of that, so I thought it was appropriate. This is track 47 for my mom. In my mother's garden, a grove of birch lets the wind run its hands through her hair. The smell of sage will give you the kind of long embrace that becomes uncomfortable in a crowd of sunflowers. A small pond murmurs, looking for the man who made him. The brick path leads to a glass table and a boiler before its abrupt end at the garden's edge, as if each were a character in a Jane Austen novel shot dead on the Idaho prairie. On the east side of this garden there is a bulbous tomato hanging in the heavy shade of the leaves, red eye glowing in darkness. Mom is pulling out weeds as the spade clings discontentments off the rocky soil. Everything comes down hard in Camas County. The sun, the snow, the law, the sweat from her neck, and the curls it has straightened. Glancing at the tomato, she is filled with apocalyptic thoughts from Revelation. Is the great red dragon between the rows? Are the two beasts rising up from the sod? Is this the first drop of blood falling from the sky? She shudders and gets back to digging up the roots. Green leaves snarling and biting blue gloves in a kind of encroaching ecstasy. The dog clangs a bark against the rocky Idaho air. She's in the road again. My mom runs to get her. The dog is prancing and panting along the road. Her tongue is lolling and her canine face is pulled up in that idiot grin of dogs that somehow makes them look both more and less human. In the watery asphalt air, the smile seems like a mocking demonic reflection. Mom grabs her by the neck. A few minutes later, she is back in the garden, and in the leaves the scarlet threat lingers, whispering a multitude of seeds. She feels the presence of the ripe and rotund glow, finding its voice in summer shadows. She rises, brushes the beards of dirt from her knees, walks over and reaches into the darkness. Gasping for breath, she pulls out the formidable fruit and takes a large, juicy bite, wondering about all the movies she's been missing on account of the violence. Thank you all so much.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Kerry Cox. I was actually one of the first hosts of this open mic when we first started. I've never lived in West Seattle, but they made me an honorary West Seattleite. But I would drive here from North Seattle, and traffic was bad. And after, I don't know, a year, I had to call it quits. But I always loved coming back here and performing and just seeing the community that Leopoldo built here. I love it, and so I always say yes if he ever asks me to come and perform. So I'm going to set my own little stopwatch. So I have a mix of new and older poems to read for you tonight. I'm very excited. I haven't read my work in a long time in public, so happy to see some of my friends and favorite poets here in the audience and storytellers, and to share a stage with you tonight. This first poem is a bit of a tongue twister. It should get my mouth moving, and it's called Trestle Pastel. Do you trespass? Are you your brother's keeper? Do you bother your mother or let her sleep? Are you the unstung beekeeper? Do you lie like a leper when Jesus dresses like a reaper? Are you a widow? Are you a weeper? Have you done time for crimes you never had a stomach for? Have you run amok or flew too close to the sun? Are you undone when the moon goes new? Are you afraid with nothing to do? Do you trespass? Are you a mess? Have you been accused of ruining your best dress because you wanted to play dirty, to fight and kick? Are you a woman and not a chick? Have you taught a magician a new kind of trick with a saw and some thread and some pills swallowed quick? Did you follow Jack up that big green hill and forget to tumble after? Do you get drunk on highways and unexpected laughter? Are you a daughter, a soldier, a drafter? Have you been hung from some unsung rafter, hit like a piñata? until you thought you might break? Have you ever given more than you wanted to take? Made the kind of music a blind child might make? Do you trespass on Valentines, on shamrocks? Do you underline landmines and broken clocks on pages too old to be read by anyone else? Are you tired of keeping your best breaths in a bottle on a shelf? Is this the help, the hand that you asked for, reaching past skin straight to the glass core? Are you setting off alarms, dreaming of storms, getting high off Bible verses and bracelets of charms? Can you believe in what's under the bed? Words that aren't said? Can you give up without being dead? Are we two faces forsaking our heads, two bodies sleeping in two separate beds? Do you trespass? Do you dream of breaking, entering, faking, falling down shaking in the center of the ring, waiting for some far-off bell to save you from everything? Do you steal what you can grab, hand and fist, and kiss and nab and run and hide and bury your pride with treasure too heavy to measure? This is a newer piece. It's untitled, as most of my poems are. I'm not good with titles, as some of you know. Melted music made my tongue laugh, lolling, every key a new door inside me, trembling open all the way, whistling and weakening at the hinges. Old flowers gasping, art, the stem in thirst, I'm reaching like their faded scent, hanging heavy in the corners like cobwebs. Mesh, bathed, bleak, black crescendos, sipping fingertips, sensors of the senses, played like a game, ached like a code, against eardrum, cadence calling courage, come quick now. Old shoes still stomp these floorboards, clean on Friday, nights when the sun's gone down. Wuthering widows wake to windows, wild with buzz and bravado. Glamour strokes on bow and neck, the fingers deft as ever. The resting revelers reigning in the night's new need. Clamoring claps, hand-happy snaps, stealing back beats, breaking like bats, all boogie and blues, all tapping and spats. Wilting pianos can't rest in peace, resurrected in chests too old to speak, the songs their skin sings. Devout and deep, and millions of notes before we sleep. This is a poem that was inspired by cryptography and a certain person who was in the cyberpunk movement, as far as it was just a prompt. So it's called cryptography. Some of you may have read in my bio that I lived in New Orleans for 7 years, and I think that made me a better writer. People say it's a writer's count. Cryptography. Why are we hiding on Mardi Gras Day? The parades have stopped rolling and the masks are dropping as Lent sludges near, a time of sacrifice, where we learn new codes for desires we must not indulge. Why are we sleeping through sunrise, studying maps? Why are we afraid to be alone, to be seen, unseen? I'm contemplating what to give up this time, remembering what was hardest to go without and why. Now I keep more secrets, more allegory close to the skin, more hands in pockets, less sugar, more sit-ups, less writing to see the pen move, more chances to feel my insides growl with hunger. You think because you've seen all of the parts, you know me whole. Why are we whispering on Mardi Gras Day? The dead sleep above ground here to hear the drums and give the living enough urgency to keep dancing. Everything is its own language, accent. Every word is made in each mind, slightly differently, tossed out through breathy, exhaled openings. Every chance is a last chance, eventually. This is called Untitled 11. You can't be me anymore, part of my dreaming, part of my arm muscles. We can't be alone anymore, part of the same air breathing. Can't be beating hearts in time anymore, can't be three anymore, you and me in symmetry anymore. This is the standoff, the sit-in. We can't pretend anymore, can't upend anymore, offend anymore. Delicate sensibilities. Can't black and white our way out of this one, can't caress new words out of each other anymore. You can't be free anymore, untethered from the air like feathers anymore. My back breaks now while you bend around this truth anymore, waiting for more, needing more. This isn't even me anymore. You can't be in me anymore, belong to me anymore, can't live out days on floorboards and bottoms of coffee cups anymore. We mesh, still, but not mingling anymore, not missing each other anymore, still lying if we need to, still sleeping next to each other, but you can't breathe into my lungs anymore, resuscitate my pulse anymore, can't call me from overseas anymore. Can't determine the weather from your bones anymore. Don't know what cold is anymore. You can't be me anymore. Can't see me anymore. Hidden beneath the surface, iceberg mammoth underneath. Under these rugs we've been sweeping ourselves all along with the broken plate splinters and dust. And we don't even use the word us anymore. Don't get dressed up anymore. Won't confess sins anymore. Won't touch each other's faces anymore. Admit bruising, eat fruit from each other's fingers, linger longer at the mirror anymore. But sometimes I remember when we felt the more of each more, the want and wander of each degree on the thermometer, the mixed mad dash hustle of every smooth and long muscle, and how you carried me through every door, bled and fed and wed me like an untarnished starlet, needing an encore, feeding an army of eloquent nerves slipping through my core, gasping along the cables and crescent moon, scars from future wars. You never asked me quietly, then never ask at all anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you. How was it doing? 1 minute?
No, it's
Done?
it's 13 seconds.
Okay, good. I feel like that was good.
Okay, welcome to side 2. We flipped the LP, right?
Yeah.
All right.
What's an LP?
For the 10th anniversary of Poetry Bridge, I wanted to share 10 new punk poems. The punk poems are all 10-liners, so there's kind of a 10-10-10 thing going tonight. For Patti Smith, lean close, speak softly into my ear, offer gifts to her, talisman in bunting silk, creased Polaroids with scallop edges, at her gate leave drums. Drunk, coming home, tripping up the steps, a lively coda. Listing from side to side, the finale begins with hammered hymn-like tones. Restless bell ringer, shifting weight from one foot to the other. Boozy symphony. What remains after music stops? What's inside a pagoda of art? Saxophone blows Chinatown. What sound do onion skins make? This is written at the Highway 99 Blues Club. It's down on the waterfront below the viaduct, which I don't think either one is there anymore.
No.
at Highway 9 Blues Club. Hit it, 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 hit it. At the Ginsburg Marathon. Roars the lion, roar anew. Foot tapping, bellowing, split, flying, pure joy, yes. After the needle doesn't return, but rather stays stuck, final groove skipping, after labels spinning, after crackle and scratch, after all tomorrow's parties, after road towel pushed aside, after last night filled a gap, after sun streaks under door. Dogs are barking, TV was left on, security light trips, floods our yard, back gate left open. Somehow I associate that with the current administration. These days are like all other days. Although dazed, spinning like an enemy of flat earth, illumination absorbed by absurdity. Written on November 1st. The past is often marked by statuary or obelisk, a sign that someone or something passed. I locate his grave by counting trees. Pissing in the woods is the closest I come to accepting Jesus as my personal savior. Say of poetry, if not death, what the Dutch say. Go, just go.
I'm Cheryl Latif. I brought some chapbooks that are very old. Some of the poems have been rewritten, but you're welcome to take one. They're free. I'm going to start with a poem which you'll know when you hear it about my brother, called Sagittarius Rising. My brother's so cool. Learned early how to play by the rules, shine in the sun, please everyone. Class clown, cubist, chameleon, this prodigal son was a Kerouac fan. Every man, everything I was not. My brother's no fool. Learned to soft shoe out the door, left them begging for more, left me blinded by the light of his golden glow, didn't know how else to survive. My brother's so cool, got schooled in the classics while I cut classes. Floated through the teenage years while I rocked the boat. Noted my propensity for anarchy, watched me from a distance. My brother splashed color on canvas, traveled the avant-garde. His abstract tape couldn't make up for reds that flowed like blood from wounds, blues that ran like rivers of tears. It took us years to find each other's hearts. My brother discovered me, anchored and free, rising with sea tides, safe from squalls at last. Helps me keep an even keel, even while I rock the boat. Stays close should I need a hand on deck. My brother's found new hues for his canvas, reds like flushed cheeks of small child aglow, blues like aquamarine and gold. Excuse me. Bound together now, we found shelter in the storm and celebrate. Sun on our backs, wind in our sails, We're quite a crew, and more than ever, I've just got to say, my brother's so cool. This next poem I wrote on the 3rd anniversary of 9/11. It's a truncated sestina. And the person I'm referring to in this is a friend of mine who lived in New York when this all happened. It's called Ash Tuesday. Cleansed at last of burial ash, you return to tell of angels falling from the sky. The fire where you lost yourself as day turned to night in brutal madness. Streets brushed with unspeakable dust clouds, embers burning the city silent. How your subway car suddenly shuddered silent, the ground above heaving as towers fell to ash. Trapped below, none of you knew, only embers of wild confusion igniting distrust. Even there, with no sky, humanity's dark night. You helped a pregnant woman to the street like night, join the tide of muffled footsteps, silent exodus across the bridge. Toward what? This madness knows no borders. Eyes burning with tears and ash, you walked blind, nighting of daylight wiped clean from the sky, dawn of a new era hissing like embers. Back turned on a vision when sought embers of love swathed the night like neon in the sky, rained down in silent questions. What was true? What was ash? I feel like this poem is as relevant as ever, given what we're living with these days. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. This is a poem called Star Lilies, and it's the one and only prose poem that I've ever written. I sent it to New Millennium Writings. The editor took it and said, "Oh, I'd love to read your poetry anytime." I've never had that kind of a, yes, we're going to do that, and okay. Star Lilies. Soil still between your fingers, you lead me through the garden. It is early morning. Crisp air and the fragrance of your favorite blooms stir my senses. We speak in metaphor, seduced by words left to interpretation. You cut me star lilies and freesia. You want your magic to linger. I invite you in, find vases, watch the sun play on your hands now clean as you lovingly arrange garden gifts. A bud opens as if delighted to be in this small upstairs apartment. You know the face of my passion. Trace the fine lines of my longing with fingers experienced in coaxing flowers to bloom. Content to linger in transitory moments, we play under the arc of laden bows, pretend there is permanence in the mere curve of letters, cut flowers, a kiss. Beyond the well-tended beds of this garden, winding paths lead to the question you turn from. We lose our way. I return home knowing you will not follow. Upstairs, the star lilies, their fragrant flesh becoming translucent. Soon, petals will fall, one by one. So about 20 years ago, I started dealing with some illness. And I remember reading Jane Kenyon and how she wrote about illness, and I realized, oh, I can do that. It doesn't have to be pathos, because you kind of think, oh, I can't write about this stuff. So this is actually the very first poem I ever wrote about it. It's entitled Circular Breathing. And I don't know if you know, but certain saxophonists and so forth, they literally circular breathe so they can go through note after note after note. Circular breathing. There are only moments now when illness is forgotten. When the woman you once were returns to your skin and a trick of imagination sees you sprint to the corner in time for the light, hike the trail up Cowles Mountain. She is the phantom. This is your grief. This siren in the shadows teasing dreams of muscles warm and tender, warm and limber, stretching the truth of expectation, twisted recompense, late spring. Only she knows how rest comes when sleep will not, how you follow your breath, its circular motion, draw stillness from the hummingbird's flight, how you stumble toward grace, offer prayers, give thanks, wait for moments rich with forgetting. This next piece is called Tango, and yes, there are 45s and LPs that we still talk about. Tango. Past and future tango through the hours of a father who soon won't know my name. Mother in stage 4 reprieve. This cadence of crises plays in the background like an old 45 on repeat. In the quietude of morning, foghorns hold me like bowed notes of violin and cello. I stand mute within an opus of memories. Past and future tango by, coda looms in the wings. This year finds spring pushed aside by an aging winter's arias of snow and ice. These long nights at a cold window evoke years syncopated by estrangement, tempo of anger and silence, rest and repeat. Past and future's blithe tango through our lives. Soon the seasons will settle, as life did between us. I will say the things I need to say, those things I've told myself could lure songbirds back to the garden, those things that will let me place an LP on the old turntable and tango effortlessly into tomorrow. And I'll leave you with a fairly short poem. It's entitled Postmarks. I read your letter again this morning. You never say where you are, just that you are enjoying the continent, missing the soft curves of my body. It's the same letter time and again, only the postmark reveals a different story. These absences come and go while I unfold letters, search for something new, a place for me between the lines. In today's mail, another note. I think I'll leave it unopened. Read the postmark. Make up my own story.
Okay. Well, first I'll tell a brief story about pie. Might as well, you know? I moved to Seattle in 1992 from Denver, and I grew up in Chicago, and somebody was selling some pocket pies out at the Seattle Center, and I said, well, what flavor is that? And they said, Marion Berry. And I said, yeah, sure. Because at the time, I don't know if anybody remembers, in Washington, D.C., there was this crooked mayor named Marion Berry. And I thought they named it as a joke. So we're all going to forget the mayor, but we'll never forget the pie. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Humpty Dumpty, an equine perspective. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Well, let's examine this. What, or should I say, what the fuck is an egg doing sitting on a wall? Eggs, if this isn't obvious, are round. This Humpty idiot, being of the ovoid persuasion, has no business sitting in a goddamn wall. And then, supposedly, he has, and I quote, a great fall. Well, I call horse shit. Or my shit. Well, let me put it this way. If you find a body floating in the San Francisco Bay, do you speculate that he fell from the Golden Gate Bridge? I say, nay! Let's face it, that sucker jumped. Fake news! No galloping on. What's this horse manure about not being able to put Humpty together again? First of all, there was yolk splattered all over the place. Second, the king's men are idiots. They couldn't put him back together if he was made of Lego blocks. Complete morons. And, of course, us horses couldn't either. Maybe this states the obvious. We don't have any hands! We have 4 hooves, 1 toe on each. Geez, what were we supposed to do? Use our teeth? Nay! Nay! Hey! So, what we have is a bad egg with a bad attitude and a bad altitude, deliberately committing suicide. Yep, this one didn't go over easy. He went full omelet. You can't fix stupid, especially stupid with a death wish. Case closed. Now, excuse me, I'll get back to eating grass and chewing my cud. Ridiculous. Okay. This is the story of Miss Pepper. Miss Pepper is the best bowler in the alley. She buries her 3 fingers into a heavy black bowling ball. A ball much heavier than one would expect for such a tiny woman. Her bowling ball is black, and only black. She has no patience for the whimsical colors that often adorn other balls. This is serious. She backs up a bit and stares. A stare that might melt ice. She could almost imagine the bowling ball pins quivering with fear, awaiting their fate. Miss Pepper closes one eye. It seems that she can redirect all the ferocity of the closed eye into the eye that remains open. Fearsome! Then her eyebrow raises skyward, almost grazing her hairline, and the left side of her lip plunges downward. Her brow wrinkles and her hair, neatly tied in a ponytail, plunges straight down her back, not unlike the tail of a Lipizzaner horse. Her nostrils flare as she stretches out her arm, and she raises the ball to just beneath her chin, gently cupping it with her guiding hand. As she steadies herself, she intensifies, if this is possible, her laser stare. Her back is erect, her abdomen taut, and her teeth and butt cheeks are clenched. If she arrived at the hospital emergency room in such a state, a sharp-eyed intern might strongly suspect that she was having a paralytic seizure or perhaps a debilitating stroke. But no! This is Polly Pepper's game face, and the pins were her enemy. The boiling cauldron of determination that is Miss Pepper releases her supportive guiding hand as the ball swings backwards, stretching her bulging biceps. Then her arm swings forward, revealing the rope-like tendons of her forearm, and the ball shoots like a missile from a submarine, landing precisely 3 yards and 3 inches from her outstretched fingertips as she emits a satisfied grunt. The ball spins in a counterclockwise vortex, emitting a rumbling, thunderous sound as it rolls down the lane. The pins quiver. The perfectly placed ball breaks at precisely the right moment. Oh, it is fortunate. The modern bowling pins are now made from some space-age synthetic material rather than wood, or they would have shattered. It is also fortunate the bowling alleys had modernized, replacing human pin setters with automated machines, or when Polly Pepper was in the house, there would be a few more missing teeth. Of course, not one pin was left standing. Not a surprise to Polly Pepper, who knew this from the time the ball left her hand. Indeed, from the time of her birth, this is how Polly knew she would face life. Bowling is just a metaphor. She turns around with an expression somewhat akin to a smile, but perhaps closer to a smirk or a sneer. And she faces the empty bench. Polly Pepper has no opponents. No one dares. She bowls alone. Her only challenger is herself. and a worthy challenger she is. Thank you.
So thanks, Leopoldo, for putting this thing together for the last 10 years. That's a long time to do anything. In that way, in the way that this place is an institution, you built an institution within this institution. I'm from New York, but I used to live on Beacon Hill, and I moved to West Seattle, and I moved back to Beacon Hill. This is for the kids from Beacon Hill. It's called Nights on Beacon Hill. Those nights, we danced barefoot on crushed gravel. Wiffle ball bat smack home run put you in the Johnson driveway. And turning third at full speed meant you gotta jump over like 10 miles of pricker bushes, fat with blackberries. Those nights, Levi and James would always try to sell shit. Stupid shit. Shit like used batteries, busted tape cassettes, half-off dry cleaning coupons, magic rocks, to old Mrs. Tran, who lived down at the condos, the new ones with the built-in wraparound porches. And half the time, she'd chase them down the block swinging a broomstick handle. And the other half the time, she'd give them kisses, full tumblers of ice-cold Tang, buy whatever they were selling, all depending on whether or not Mr. Tran had visited the racetrack or the liquor store that night. Broomstick or not, it was well worth the risk. At least for us, because the dark blue bruises that came up 20 minutes later had always got Jenny Lee peeing in her pants laughing. And that way we got to bust on 3 people all night long. On those nights, we threw itchy balls at the cross-eyed cats by the cul-de-sac because we hated them. We hated them. We hated the way they stared, blank and bitter, at anyone on our side of the cyclone fence. We ate Otter Pops bought from the 7-Eleven, stole beer from Mario's dad's basement fridge, crept way down along the park side by the dumpster, jerked off on old torn covers of Penthouse magazines. We'd walk north for close to an hour just to get to Greg's pool where, if you were brave enough, you could jump from the branch of the dying oak, the one that broke the night that Fat Paul tried to do like 500 pull-ups in like 2 minutes. Those nights we'd tease Sherman, sing, "Sherman the Vermin," from behind the old rhododendron bushes, till the one day his mom threw boiling water at all of us and nearly blinded poor Lisa Randall. Those nights we'd try for hours. And hours, and hours, trying to make fire with 2 sticks, Indian style. We'd try to make light with nothing, nothing but ourselves, our green, young selves. This one is called Sound of the Digital Clock. My wife is sitting at the kitchen table. In front of her is a cup of cooling tea. She is angry. Her eyes are not here with me. She's looking out at the dawn, breaking through the window, and she is fantastic. She turns to smile at me, and I know that she wants to kill me over breakfast at the kitchen table. She wants to kill me because of the sound of the cotton sheets against my unshaven cheek. Because of the sound of the digital clock because she loves me, because she is too much, too beautiful, because there is dirt under her nails, because the coffin yawns when it is sleeping. She wants to kill me because she loves me this morning forever. Because she is angry at the plastic placemat, because it has remained the same color all these years, because my skin has traveled and my teeth have lengthened. She wants to kill me looking out of the window because of those goddamn sheets against my unshaven cheek. And yes, you faker romantic, yes, you cherry-faced postcard, she wants to kill me because of love. Yes, she loves me this morning so much, and her love is massive, and her head turns on its smooth axis, turns to look at me this morning. Me. And I know the omega of all things. The smile is the impossible curve of the only blinding horizon, and her eyes are the first supernova, and I am laid down. I am laid down on the floor, the sad, sad linoleum, at her knees, smelling her pajamas, and her smile has killed me, and I am laid open, yawning at the breakfast table. And this is another side of things. This is called My Love is a Pearl. Maybe these are all for Valentine's Day. This is a kundiman, which is a Filipino love song for patria, for country. And it was disguised in the Revolutionary period as a love song. I don't know how they go. I don't know if they have any form or anything like that. But I made this one up. My love is a pearl. A pearl, a seed, a grain. A grain of sand, one grain of sand inside of time. Inside the thing that is inside of us. A piece of me, some kind of love I can't describe. I can't describe because to fit all things inside recalls the end of space and time and being called to part with. But I am just a little thing, a paper cup to hold the world. Now I'm lucky that my love is too. My love, one drop of liquid sun, inside the sea, inside the thing that lives within the hourglass of time. My love, she is a tidal wave whose face invokes all nameless names, an ocean force, an awesome thing that draws itself unto itself. She moons the flood back to the shore, sounds siren songs, sings home is near amidst the fleet of ebbed and unmoored boats adrift. She is a little beach. I taste her taste beneath my tongue, her grit between my teeth. Her love, my love, her name, it calls me home, wherever home as she might be. Her body then a beacon pulse, a lighthouse fire that burns the dawn upon the surface of the sea. A liquid drop, a tiny thing, a candle held against the sky. We are perhaps a simple tale of things that come and go, reborn upon the sound of time. A prayer wheel, a season's turn, a way to mark the biggest thing, tiny though we are. My love, she is a crooning hymn, a mother's mouth, the nascent heat of fresh baked bread, pandesal, a thing I gave up long ago, the Eucharist, forgiveness for the things I did or did not do, a pain I cleaved upon myself. My love, she puts inside my mouth herself, offers up herself as much as she can give, forgives herself, and hopes to God that it can too. My love, she opens up her palms, admits she is the smallest thing. And so she lets herself into the light, becomes the fluid of the sun. Impossible to separate ourselves. we have become a sea of us, layering inside ourselves, inside a little oyster's shell, whose nacreous protects the tiny grain of sand by turning it into a pearl.
Well, I'm Julene, and I'm going to start dark and hopefully go light. Father's Day, raging hellfire. Let us build you a Disney story, a brand new fairy tale for captured children, beyond Cinderella, who freed by her glass slipper won the prince. There is no prince coming. Once there was music, beans and rice, a mother, a father living together, but they fled for a better life. Like Dorothy, they fell through a hole. Our lava spills onto children, crushing their skulls and spines with our hot, fiery wall of death. No hugs allowed to soothe trauma-induced fear. We spew from miles above, towering and spitting a beautiful fire. From a distance we are magnificent. And the children cannot run, trapped in cages like small mice, in the field sacrificed. In this strange land surrounded by a language they barely understand, braced in terror. Afraid, for what must those who captured you want from you, and what will they do with your precious body? So many of us do not mean to harm you, but you are broken, perhaps forever, and it is our fault in this United States. We must be blamed in your tiny eyes staring out at a black night alone on a thin mat, body shaking, needing at least a weighted blanket that will never come. Child, I do not ask for forgiveness. My friends, too, are under siege. So many ankles shackled in this renegade system. And now you, untracked, no adults allowed to look you in the eye with love. Our rulers will eventually bleed the masses into the decaying earth. We will be burnt by fire, desecrated by lava. And this is another heavy one. This is, some of you might remember Brock Turner, that name? Okay. No means no. Your aggravated assault might be misinterpreted as love. Such aggression spurned. This I must have you now. Inherent weakness elicits such misunderstanding, Mr. Brock Turner, who put a Mickey in her drink for 20 minutes to have and hold under a dumpster, dirt invading her vagina. Such a wide mouth of need that will never be satisfied across the sexes. But there is something beyond this war of sex, beyond the race wars white boys persist in starting. You are making me a pessimist, and I don't like this turning of the cheek when I or any woman says, no, you can't have me, but you must have your way. No means no, even if it bends like a willow in your wind. It is a gift, this sweet underside of a woman's flesh, where babies come from, and healing, like salicylate acid lining willow branches, a headache cure. It was a man, I'm sure, who made it aspirin. All she needed was a twig to chew, a willow twig. But a man had to isolate the acid, to separate and strip down the inner bark, to take what he needs. We are lucky there is anything left. But don't worry. At this rate, it will be gone. And you, with your rape bonus points, such a winner with stars, got your 20 minutes with bare penalty. Don't worry, you've made it. Keep swimming, and be sure to rest, because the end is near. So this one is I think it's an autobiographical poem, and it's after Gregory Pardlo, who won a Pulitzer Prize for written by himself, which is his poem. So I used that poem to write this, and it's called How I Came to This World. It was a leap year. On a Thursday, I was born, upstate New York, Borscht Belt small town, to a family of farmers where covered bridges crossed creeks. 20 miles to the racetrack in Monticello, our nearest city, where my father worked for an air conditioning firm. The evergreens of the Catskills, a mother off seeking four-leaf clovers, born to arrowheads and quartz, to blueberry bushes and black backfields. I ran to frogs and salamanders across stone fences, through wild woods. No eyes followed me. It was during the Cold War Red Scare, but I, a wild barn child, was unaware. Daddy's little girl. I wore patent leather shoes at Easter and blue velvet at Christmas. The cameo necklace Mom gave me fell into a stream. I was a wild thing from go, feeling the velocity of wind. The night I came a fierce push. I was born clear white, pastel perfect skin, with spit-on Irish blood and German ancestry. I was told to never acknowledge by a direct line uncle. The year I came, there was a storm brewing in the guts of women to have climaxes they'd never reached. There was a surge to reach the moon. The atom bomb was introduced from Britain. Born on a stormy Thursday, I knew it would be rocky, not a song in the rain, nor the cotton candy fun world where Mother resided. Conception story. On the third floor, Joe in the bathroom jerks off to gay porn. My sister and her partner in bed warm up. A row house in Philly, 3-story attached. I sit on the first floor with Mom. We make small talk. She wonders why everyone went to bed early. I imagine Joe handing Louise the still warm cup, her with the turkey baster, how they will maneuver to insert the sperm at climax. The perfect condition for insemination, my sister tells me. Still surprised at her change of heart to carry a child, this first attempt of many. Mom's continual delusion that Jill and Joe will marry, 2 lawyers. She only tolerates Louise. A baby will shift our dying family. Mom stares at the TV with blank eyes, arthritic, stranded on the first floor. I kiss her goodnight, go 1 flight up, hang with Joe, who's tired, sitting with his thoughts about becoming a father. The revival of the black wing pencil. Koon just picked this one for the anthology that's coming out, so I thought I might read it tonight. Have you used a pencil lately? You may think, pencil? That's old school. But East of Eden was written in pencil. That first draft when John Steinbeck started each day with 60 Blackwing 602s, each used till too short for his hand. Made by Faber-Castell since 1761, when the factory closed, it was a sad day. Stephen Sondheim bought pencils by the case. Grapes of Wrath was written in pen. Now we have the revival, the Blackwing limited edition, made to specificity, totally black, even the eraser, as Steinbeck's son said his dad would prefer. 24 packed neat with donations made to fund music and art. An inexpensive hobby to pursue, pencils. We revise, not erase our past. Do I have one more minute? How much? 2 more minutes?
Sure.
I'm going to do an old one that I haven't done in years, and I think the only person who will remember it is John Burgess. So I'm doing this for you, John. I read this at Copa years ago. Silence Before the Day. It's dedicated to the man in my life, the love of my life. Morning. I wake up in silence with you. We talk in ancient garble that has no meaning. We grunt to each other. It's too early for words. Silence surrounds us, a place for our dreams. Our dreams come forward, a place for the shadows of the night to be remembered and reckoned with, the silence of the morning, still each in our own experience from a full rest. We slowly waken each in our own space before the day crunches down, bites us off from our root. I like this silence we wake in, the mutual respect, the place before words, where if it must be spoken, it comes in code. Or a touch, ever so gentle. I rest my hand on your hand. Maybe this time, early, before the shadows slip away with the rising sun. Thank you.
Normally I read poetry, but tonight I'm just going to read something, what I call rambling narrative. Maybe it's a new genre, new form. I don't know what it is. It's modeled after Leopoldo's rambling narrative.
That could be an inspiration.
So this is called the Connor File, or Dispatches from the Mental Health System, or Minor Key in Chemistry. Sarah made her first petite and gave it to me as a present. It was a fish. She was unilaterally in love with me. She was 43 and I was 28, and we're in San Francisco. We're residents of a halfway house for people. Before I moved in, I was the Napa State Hospital. When I was released, my father put me in the Chinatown YMCA, renting by the month. He said, I've been here before, like before you're born. I was there once, stayed at the YMCA myself. They got a swimming pool. So I went down to the swimming pool, and I saw people practicing karate down there too. I suppose if I got too close, you just throw me into the swimming pool. So anyway, that was the year 1977. I had already been homeless once in San Francisco. And when I left the YMCA, I ate mostly Chinese cream-filled buns at a pastry shop in Waverly Lane, just a block off Grand Avenue, which is the main drag in Chinatown, San Francisco. And I didn't know how to cook at that time for myself because there was no cooking facility at the YMCA. And I let a homeless guy, a guitar player, sleep in my place during the daytime. So one night, I heard about 30 ambulances go by. Maybe it was 29, maybe it was 31, lost count. And in the morning, that's about 3 a.m. So I went back to sleep, and I got up in the morning, I walked outside my door, and Steve, the homeless guy, showed up. Koon, the Chinatown Mafia's just gone crazy. They shot 7 people in the Golden Dragon. Well, yeah, that was the first time that they actually killed a tourist in Chinatown. So that's a no-no, because tourists is very important to the economy of Chinatowns, all over the country. So the FBI was brought in, and they told, the Chinese told the FBI the stories behind Chinatown. That's the first time they cracked open the cases in Chinatown, because the Chinese have to tell the secrets to other people. So anyway, my dad put me there, he gave me $1,000, gave me some nice clothes. He figured I'd bounce right back in the economic life, just like that. Well, I haven't, and now I'm 71 years old, but I got along somehow anyway, so. And it's the perfect life for a poet. So, how do you account for yourself, mister? You know, you haven't worked, so. But I took occupational preference tests. They said I should always be an accountant. And they said I should work for the FBI or the CIA because I'm good at math. I can track the money trail, you know. I can smell the green. I could get those guys, you know, and that's what they want me to do. But I figured that was too tedious work, you know, like going over all the money laundering trail to Bulgaria, you know, somebody said Bulgaria, into Vietnam, to Thailand, and half the money in Thailand is the underground economy, so nobody can trace that. So anyway, but that is the FBI stories I don't know anything about. So I was now at the halfway house, and but before that, I came from Aberdeen, Washington, so I'm wearing a logger's shirt and blue jeans, in honor of the loggers of my town, because they wouldn't wear slacks and climb a tree, so they wear jeans and logger shirts. So that's how they made a living. And my next door neighbor was a logger, and the choker setters had the most dangerous job. They set a wire around a tree and just fling the tree up in the air, you know, and then after they cut it. So if they get hit by a tree, it's instant death. So they had a rough time. But Aberdeen, because the spot elm controversy, closed down logging. And the fishing went dry because they fish all the bottom fish and make pet food. So it became extinct. The hake and some other fish. So the economy in Aberdeen went downhill. And teen pregnancy went way up. Alcoholism went way up. And so that was the Aberdeen. That's why, what's his name? The guy in Nirvana? Kurt Cobain. That's why he left Aberdeen. Before that, he played his guitar underneath the bridge on the way to the cemetery. The road to the cemetery. That's how he learned how to play his guitar. And, I never heard of him because I was in the mental health system for 20 years until after he had died, and heard of him. So anyway, but in Aberdeen we also boast of a Nobel Prize winner in physics, and a guy who invented the microwave machine. And that's a useful guy. He was born in Aberdeen. So what happened to me was a built-in genetic time bomb. So it reminds me of a cartoon. The terrorist trainer telling the students, be careful, watch this carefully, because you're only going to see this once. You know? Right. So anyway, so my family was bicultural, and my parents came from China. They're the old Confucian school, and I'm supposed to be the dutiful firstborn son. So I'm not supposed to fool around. I'm not supposed to, mess around white girls or anything like that. So even though it was in San Francisco, and sex was just rampant, because that was in the 1970s, late 70s, and just 10 years before that, that's where all the flower people went to in San Francisco. And they say there's more women than men in San Francisco, and a lot of men are gay, so you can have all the sex you want. And even I got some, but that was later on. That's a different story. Meanwhile, the halfway house, Ken found a suicide note. You know, John left a big pot of spaghetti in the basement kitchen. It was turning red on blue on red. So he was gone for 72 hours, and Mrs. Wade, the director, called the cops, and they found him walking through the Golden Gate Bridge. So they took him to the San Francisco General for observations. You know, but I was on medication at that time, so I wasn't thinking about committing suicide at that time. And, although I never did, you know, but unless it was an accidental death, because you know, when you get manic and you do all kinds of crazy things. You know, I was working in the city lunch restaurant downtown San Francisco, the financial district. I was waiting for a cable car, and I wasn't looking. I was caught between two cable cars. You know, one coming this way, one coming this way. One was sure to hit me, to be instant death. As luck would have it, some guy saw that. He was on one of the cable cars. He just, I don't know, he got the string. He just grabbed me like this, yanked me up and put me in the cable car. Saved my life.
Wow.
I didn't thank him, you know, because it's such a shock. I looked up to the sky. Maybe the sky sent him a message. Do your good deed now. Maybe what happened. But for most of us, you know, Conner was a good place to be. The rent was really cheap, and we had 24-hour supervision, and you know, and sex was rampant. There was Yale dropouts, there was Columbia dropouts, there was UC Berkeley dropouts, and all kinds of smart people there. But I was the dumbest, but I made the most money. Because I worked in a donut shop at night, I went to school, and I graded papers, and I tutored in physics, I made all kinds of money. And I had my SSI check, so I kept it in the drawer, wait for 6 months before I cashed them, you know. So then when I came back to Seattle, after my stint at the halfway house, I was a rich guy again. So anyway, but that is another story. Another story is, should tell you how I ripped off the government for $188,000 in a credit card, $70,000. That's how I made a living, people. That's how I made a living. That's how I've supported my poultry habit, okay? So anyway, but I don't want you guys to think that the halfway house is all about suicide and sex. No, it's not. It was not at all. It was, they're trying to get us to go back to the workforce, you know. But if the meds doesn't work for you, no amount of talking is going to do you any good, because your brain is scrambled by faulty biochemistry. It just doesn't make any sense to me. There's no accounting for my delusions, and you're just going to talk to me. No accounting for my sudden elations and depressions, you know. It's just a wild, wild ride all the way through. And then, some people sleep in a room for like a day and a half at a time because they're depressed. They can't face the day. But we have to be out there, you know, like half a day. You go to the mental health center, go to a volunteer job, go to a real job. And some people just stay in the room all day, and you know, and the staff, you know, never knew about it. And then, and years later, they can test that they have done that. And then, so now, I don't know. Maybe I should turn this over to you. Is there anything you want to know about the mental health system? You got friends or relatives in the mental health system? You got. Well, anyway, so maybe I should tell you that I was a very good student in chemistry in high school, because it was just like cooking. I've been cooking since I was 12. By the time I was 16, I managed the whole kitchen, cook everything on the menu. And so chemistry was like cooking with a Bunsen burner instead of a wok. You know, you balance equations using algebra, which I was very good at. So I was very good in chemistry. I got the best grade in high school. And the chemistry teacher gifted me a set of chemistry handbooks with my name engraved in gold on the cover. And MIT found out about me, so they invited me to the conference in Seattle. They asked me to apply to MIT very early, which I didn't, but that's another story. Anyway, but So all the girls in my chemistry class in high school wanted to be my lab partner. I was so naive, I didn't ask them for a hamburger or milkshake. So that's how naive I was. The same thing in the halfway house. Maria, the well-buzzing Greek girl of Greek descent, asked me, do you like American girls or like Chinese girls better? I didn't know what she was driving at, you know. The next thing she knows, I know she chose Ben, who was a little bit younger than herself, because his father's a big shot in the military. He had a motorcycle, so they rode around in a motorcycle. So that's how life is in the halfway house. It's not all fun and games because people do try to commit suicide. And the girl that I was interested in, she was from Aberdeen, not from Aberdeen, from Seattle. And she was in Mills College, she was studying poetry. And she, on a scholarship, she swallowed 100 pills in class. They took her from her stomach and put her in the halfway house. So that's the kind of people that you can never know what it can hit. I mean, you don't know it coming until you're in late teens, early 20s. And some people, like I did, just another passing phase, like acne or something, it'll go away, you know, but it hasn't gone away. I still take meds every day, and I still see a therapist, still talk to my friend, Dr. Jacobs. In fact, he just called me earlier when I was over there. He's been a friend of mine for 50 years, and he's a psychiatrist. He went to Harvard, and he would treat me for nothing. You know, for 50 years, he treated me for nothing, except for 2 meals, which he came over to my house to eat. And he, you know, he's very strict. No shellfish, no pork, no this and this and that. So it's very hard cooking for him. I said, Larry, dear, you know, what kind of food do you like to eat? I said, plain and simple, because he's got a gut problem, stomach problem, you know. So, okay, thank you.
Wow. Hit it. All-nighter, hit it. I went and saw Lawrence Ferlinghetti at Meany Hall one time. I was kind of going to all these great poets would come through, and I had to go listen to them. And at one point in the middle, he said, well, you know, he's reading a couple lines. He said, that's so good, I'm going to read them again. And so he read this whole thing again. And I was going, you can do that? I was like, I didn't think you could do that. And, but he did it. I thought, well, it kind of freed me up a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So, anyway, tonight's been all about that. Each of you get up, I say, you can do that? Well, not really, because I've heard you read before and I've gotten used to this. But it's like everybody figures this out for themselves, you know? And what's beautiful about it is, I was talking to somebody during the break, and I really don't read much poetry anymore. I used to read a lot and I'd go and listen, but I realized that I'd fallen in love with any kind of art form that there isn't a separation between the artist and the art. So I've grown tired of museums and galleries because Picasso's not there. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I go and see, oh yeah, there's you know, a little painting of him. And so I just try to imagine some of your poetry, you know, in a book, and it wouldn't be anything like the way you read it, with your presence, your mannerisms, your intonation, and your energy, and the energy behind it, and which is why I've fallen in love with this kind of setting at Poetry Bridge, and why I'm hoping I can keep doing this with you for the next 10 years. I mean, that's so thank you to each of you Appreciate it, all of you who read and all of you who were here to listen.
And thank you for saying
Yeah,
that.
and you'd be crazy, in my mind, to not come back in March. Because can you imagine doing this all again with 14 different people? Thank you.